This is Innovation and Leadership, where we interview Navy SEALs, venture capitalists, pro athletes, best-selling authors, Hollywood filmmakers, really as many different kinds of high achievers as we can get to come on the show. Today's episode is going to be from our mini-series that we created with Corporate Alliance, asking top CEOs and executives and entrepreneurs who have had very large exits, specifically about their thoughts on leadership and people. Also, I want to talk to you about one of our show's sponsors. I met these guys back on episode 6. CEO Zach Smith was telling me all about starting a skateboard company and how much he hated doing the bookkeeping for a skateboard shop, and how he really got led to start this business, Bookly, that's a hybrid combining bookkeeping software and human services. And I'll tell you why I let him become a sponsor. It's because I use their service now. I don't love paying $50 an hour for bookkeepers to do stuff that I know software could do way, way cheaper. But I don't love bookkeeping at all. So I want a real live human who knows what they're talking about to help me with the stuff I don't understand. Probably the straw that broke the camel's back for me, though, the thing that put me over the top, was that they could do my taxes and payroll also. So totally suggest checking them out. Go to their website, bookly.co, and check out their flat rates. I've been super happy with them. So now on to today's episode. Today on the show, we've got Brandon Fugal. Brandon, thanks for making time.
Thank you for having me on the show, and it's a privilege to be with you today and answer any questions you have and give you an overview on business and maybe the commercial real estate business.
Yeah, for sure. So you're kind of a big deal around here. I've heard your name a bunch of times. Tell us, for people who don't know what you do, tell us about your business.
Yeah, I'm chairman of Coldwell Commercial Advisors. I'm also the owner. We are the fastest growing mid-market commercial real estate firm in the United States, but happen to be based in Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm also the number one producer globally for the Coldwell Commercial Network and brand out of 3,000 agents, and have had the privilege of working with, I believe, some of the leading entrepreneurs, business leaders, and developers in the Intermountain West. This has been my life and career and focus since I was 1 week out of high school at age 18. So I started at a very young age, focused on business, and have continued to expand my efforts and reach. And now we're focusing on a national and international stage, yet keeping true to our Utah, cultural magic, if you will.
Sure. And so tons of people are familiar with the Coldwell Banker name. It's got such a great reputation in the market. Tell me about your involvement with that and, the additional offices you guys have been growing and all this.
You bet. My association with Coldwell Banker Commercial started back in 98. I left a prominent commercial real estate firm where I was the top producer at a young age 24. And the franchise came available for Coldwell Banker Commercial in the Salt Lake area market. A little background on Coldwell Banker. Founded by two gentlemen, Benjamin Banker and Colbert Coldwell, back in 1906 in San Francisco. Coldwell Banker Commercial was the preeminent commercial real estate firm in really the world for decades. And there was a period of time when it was sold back in the late 80s to a group of investors that went and took the commercial enterprise public. It's now known as CBRE, which is a competitor to us. And there was a non-compete. I came into the picture in the late 90s when that non-compete had run out, secured the franchise with partners here in the Salt Lake area market, and really restored that legacy. And one thing that really resonated with me was the focus that Benjamin Banker and Colbert Coldwell had in the Bay Area over 100 years ago, which was focused on business and not being transaction oriented or really focused on commission sales, but rather focused on being advisors to captains of industry, community builders, if you will. They took great pride in working with community leaders and entrepreneurs in order to rebuild the San Francisco area market following the tragic earthquake at the time, and ended up building what became the preeminent commercial real estate brand and enterprise. So we're very fortunate to have that legacy behind us and that foundation. We presently have 30 offices in 11 states, nearly 600 professionals, and continue to grow and develop our practice. And at the same time, I'm focused on representing, I think, the leading commercial developers and entrepreneurs in the Intermountain West, and have the privilege of working on, I think, the signature projects that are changing the landscape of our communities and business. So it's a fun privilege to have a front row seat to the changing landscape in a very literal sense on a day-to-day basis.
Sure. Thinking about the name of the show, People in Leadership, right? We're both members of the C4 group at Corporate Alliance. You're such a busy guy. You got a million things going on. Why take the time to be a part of a group like that?
One thing I've always appreciated about Corporate Alliance and their approach to business is their focus on relationships. When it all comes down to it, I mean, business is about relationships. It's not about selling widgets or services, but it's really developing relationships of trust and bringing value to those relationships and having an impact on the world around you. That's really been a fun part of the opportunity with Corporate Alliance, to really build relationships that have been enduring with other business leaders, and to really work together collaboratively in order to propel our markets to the next level and to help each other. I think it's sometimes very lonely in the C-suite, as the chief executive or the chairman or owner of a company. Any business leader or entrepreneur at various points of time, takes that lonely walk out to the parking lot and finds himself to be the only car remaining in the parking lot, or the only one in the office, because it all depends on you, and it takes an added level of commitment. And finding peers and confidants in the business community that you can collaborate with and lean on is, I think, a significant benefit with being involved with Corporate Alliance. It's been an honor for me to be with the organization since inception, and it's part of being part of the community.
It almost gets envisioned by people who aren't there as like the lone eagle, the guy out blazing a trail. And in some ways it's true, but really when I think about the CEOs I look up to that I hope to be more like, they have extremely strong social networks. Right? It's
absolutely. And, it really does take a team. It's a team effort. No one man or woman does it all on their own. I mean, it takes a team effort, especially in this competitive day and age. I'm very fortunate. My CEO and partner is a man named Lou Kramer, who happens to be on the international board of the World Trade Centers Association. He is one of 4 North Americans that sits on that board, and having Lou as a confidant and as a leader and partner in really helping to motivate people and, I think, deliver superior results and service to clients, and bringing that perspective has been an important part of our success. Lou has been at the intersection of public-private partnerships for decades, and having him as a key player in the executive suite here at Coldwell Banker Commercial has really been a privilege.
Well, here's another guy that's a big deal in the community, right? And now, do I understand, was Lou like a White House fellow in the Reagan administration or something?
Correct. He was a Reagan White House fellow. Actually was part of the inaugural law class of BYU's law school, and went on to teach at both Georgetown and USC, and built an impressive career in Washington, D.C. Before being recruited back by former Governor John Huntsman to lead the World Trade Center here in Utah, and really focus on prioritizing economic development here in the state of Utah. I mean, that was over a decade ago, and you see the fruits of that labor really manifest in the dynamic public-private partnerships that exist here in Utah that are quite special. It is no coincidence that our market continues to be ranked in the top 2 or 3 by Forbes, Fortune, and others nearly every year. And it's really due to those public-private partnerships and that engagement, along with a number of other factors. And Lou has been really at the center of that arena for some time, and I think helped establish the tone and policy that has brought us to this exciting point.
How many entrepreneurs are growing a business and they want to have someone like that to bring on, right? How did you build a relationship like that, or how did you get to the point where someone like that trusted you enough that they wanted to come in with you?
Well, I think we had the opportunity to work together on various initiatives in the community that were economic development oriented. And I know of no other business that is more economic development centric than the commercial real estate business. In fact, that is what drove me into the commercial real estate business at age 18, right out of high school. I found that commercial real estate was really a powerful career path that would afford me the opportunity to work with the captains of industry at a very young age. You truly can't be in business today and not have a real estate strategy. It's just like death and taxes. You can't escape it. If you're going to be expanding and growing as a business, you really need to have a strategy. And I think, the opportunity to be a trusted advisor to those captains of industry and work with those companies from the garage stage all the way through to multi-billion-dollar IPO is quite exciting. We've seen a lot of incredible growth here in the Intermountain West, here in Utah specifically, with some companies that are making national headlines right now, and it has been a lot of fun to work with those CEOs since inception, since those companies literally came out of the garage in many cases, and to see their very formidable footprint and impact on our communities. But it's working with community leaders and economic developers that has really helped us, I think, have a measurable impact on our business community.
Also, I want to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, Skillshare. They're doing a promo for us. For everybody listening to the show, it's skillshare.com/leader, where they're going to let anybody get 2 months of access to their 18,000 classes for just 99 cents at that code, skillshare.com/leader. And I think for me, one of the reasons that I like Skillshare and probably like the classes that are most attractive to me are the really high credibility ones. Like, you can learn email marketing from MailChimp. I mean, these are the guys that make $500 million a year sending email out for their customers. They've got the data. They're legitimate experts on the subject. And as I'm getting advice, I know that I should be building my list better than I am. That's the kind of people that I want to get my advice from, and you can get it right there on those classes. One last time, if you want that 99 cents for the 2 months, it's skillshare.com/leader. So thinking about people who want to get more involved in the business community and people who want to be able to build those kind of relationships, what kind of advice do you have for the rest of us of things that worked for you as you did that?
I think focusing on relationships and adding value and focusing on when to tell people not to do a deal just as much as telling them when to, make a transaction or enter into a transaction is important. I think, people need to know that you're looking out for their best interests and that you're going to do whatever it takes in order to protect them and to help them achieve the optimal results, regardless of whether they're, purchasing a building, leasing, developing, you name it. And I think helping them navigate that very treacherous landscape, which can be quite costly at times, and helping them in so many cases save millions of dollars in the process that wouldn't otherwise be saved. I mean, that's really important, but it really does come down to relationships. This is a relationship-oriented business, and I think really putting the relationship first and foremost is key to success.
It seems like that takes a certain amount of delayed gratification, though, to have long-term thinking, to not just be thinking of, as they're talking, we're calculating a commission check in our head, right? And to be invested in their success ahead of ours. People pick up on that, don't you think?
Oh, they can sense it. People can sense when someone's just trying to get in front of a commission or trying to make a sale, and it's really a turnoff to the executives. But if they feel that you truly have their interests at heart, it changes the entire dynamic. It's funny, commercial real estate business is not an easy business. I made $500 my first year working full-time and going to school. And it wasn't until years into my career that I was able to finally see momentum and create the income that really made it worthwhile. But I think making sure you're focusing on really adding value as opposed to getting in front of a transaction is key. And people really gravitate toward others that are trying to add value and really looking to them to provide service.
Where you're setting the example for 600 professionals, right? And you've got this team. I'm interested in any thoughts you have about helping with your, how does your leadership style help people have more long-term thinking? We live in this social media age. It's like a microwave society. We want it as long as it's fast, quick, and cheap, right? You've got a lot of people looking to you. What kind of things have you found didn't work, and what did you switch to that did work?
Well, first, I think you have to help people see things from an abundance point of view as opposed to a scarcity point of view, that working together in teams will likely produce greater results, not only for you individually, but for the clientele. And I often see that 1 + 1 does not equal 2. It equals 5. It equals 10. And that's one thing that we try to encourage on a day-to-day basis is teaming and working together collaboratively in order to really produce, I think, greater results and to lead the market. Moving from there, I think, encouraging proper training and professional excellence, always sharpening the saw and never becoming complacent is key as well. Our market is changing every minute. I don't think there's anything more dynamic than our current business climate right now with how much cloud computing and the internet has literally transformed and disrupted entire industries. I think keeping up on that and being on the bleeding edge of research and data and trends and being able to advise clients and help consult with them so they can hopefully get ahead of the curve is also key as well.
Sure. What's some examples? Somebody else is running a firm. There's a CEO listening today, and they're thinking, okay, training is good, encouraging teams is good. What's an example of the way that works here?
Well, in my case, we pull together really more multidisciplinary professionals. So, having a one-size-fits-all approach doesn't usually serve the clients well. So, encouraging people to specialize and then, working to develop teams and groups of professionals that really focus on those areas of specialization. So, for example, I have a team that I work with and partner with here at Coldwell Banker Commercial that focuses singularly on corporate services and Class A office leasing, both locally and nationally, and has really honed their craft and is staying on the cutting edge of trends relative to office brokerage and the lease and sale of office buildings. We have teams and a disciplined group that is focusing on retail brokerage, representing the likes of Target, Costco, Best Buy, Barnes & Noble, Victoria's Secret, the who's who of retail. And, it requires a completely different set of skills in many cases and special market insight. I mean, anyone can put up a sign and wait for the phone to ring and circulate some flyers or put something on the internet when it comes to real estate marketing. I think it requires a more proprietary data and market intelligence driven approach in order to truly add value to a transaction and really be a trusted advisor to the CEOs and captains of industry as they are evaluating their own real estate strategy and working to address the challenges that come with expansion or downsizing. And we try to encourage those areas of specialization in order to, I think, elevate professionalism not only in our industry but also with our firm.
You've used this word a couple times during the conversation, trusted advisor, right? And certainly, our management consulting firm, Mylan Advisors, this is what we're trying to earn that status in the eyes of our clients too, right? And, it's so evident that being an expert on something isn't enough, right? When you think about people that you feel like are a trusted advisor, whether to you or in other situations that you look up to, what are some of the traits of people that you think are, they're not just a self-proclaimed trusted advisor, they really have earned that status? What do you think are some of the, or can you talk about somebody that you feel like is like that?
You bet. And that's a very good question. I think, of course, you identify with and secure someone who is best in class in their field, a true expert. But you're right, being an expert in your field of work or interest isn't enough in order to really propel yourself into being a trusted advisor to business leaders and captains of industry. What I look for in a trusted advisor and the examples I've had in my life, for example, my legal counsel, I've had very good legal counsel and also accounting and tax planning counsel over the course of the last several years, especially as we have grown our empire nationally, and we've taken our dominance here in the Intermountain West and really moved that to a true coast-to-coast presence. Having an office in Manhattan and an office in downtown LA and as far up north as Anchorage, Alaska. Well, having a team of advisors that are actually putting their own self-interest at times to the side and really putting your interests first and being a confidant and helping you identify the potholes that lie ahead inevitably and helping you navigate around those is really key. But I think loyalty is it's tough to teach. It's tough to develop and bottle. I mean, sometimes it's either there or it's not. It's a character trait. But one thing I look for with my trusted advisors and the people that I surround myself with is real loyalty. You can teach people skills. You can help people develop the skills and the tools and resources in order to lead a market, but actually matching that with the character traits, loyalty, integrity, honesty. I would take someone who is loyal, honest, and has integrity all day long over someone who happens to be the most skilled practitioner in their field.
I love it. I think it's a great place to end for part one. Please make sure to check back for part two of our episode with Brandon as we talk more about this subject. Thanks for listening. Well, that's it for the episode. One other thing I wanted to tell you about, if you'll remember the guys from Convoy in episodes back, Ken Free and Trent Mano, I went on one of their CEO trips to New York and I met a guy named Brent Thompson, very successful entrepreneur. He was former CEO of Jive Communications, big company now, I think $300 or $400 million. Anyways, he started a new company called blipbillboards.com. I'm super stoked they're a sponsor now. But I remember a year and some ago when I met him, I thought it was genius. Instead of having to buy 6 months or a year's worth of billboard for thousands of dollars, you can buy 8 seconds at a time for like 10 or 20 cents. You pick what billboard you want it on, what time of day you want it to run. And it just puts so much power in the hands of marketers and CEOs who want to try something and see if it works. You can buy as many or as few as you want, change it as many times as you want. I think now our podcast is being advertised on billboards in like 18 different states because we have these guys as sponsors. We're pretty excited about it. Hope you check out blipbillboards.com. Thanks.